The stars looked peaceful that morning. Nobody on Earth knew that today would change everything. High above the planet, hidden among the asteroids and moons, sensors started beeping. Something big was coming. Something from beyond the solar system. Captain Jamin Lee sat in his control room deep inside a lunar crater. His screen showed a massive ship entering the outer edge of the solar system. The ship was huge, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It moved slowly, confidently, like it owned the space it traveled through. Jamin pressed a button on his console. Red lights started flashing in secret bases all across the solar system. The alien ship was called Harmony's Voice. Inside, Ambassador Velkara stood on the bridge, looking at the blue planet ahead. She smiled. This would be easy. She had done this hundreds of times before. Find a primitive planet. Tell them about the Galactic Council. Give them a simple choice. Join peacefully or be forced to join. They always chose peace. They always submitted. Beside her, Commander Ixthar checked his weapon systems. They were all offline. They would not need weapons today. These humans were weak. They still used chemical rockets. They still fought each other over pieces of land. They would see the Council's ship and fall to their knees in worship. It was always the same story. But Earth was not like other planets. Humans were not like other species. And today the Council would learn that the hard way. 60 years ago, Earth's telescopes had picked up strange signals from deep space. The signals were artificial. Someone was out there. Someone was talking. The world's governments met in secret. They created a plan called Protocol Watchtower. If aliens existed, Earth needed to be ready. Not ready to welcome them, ready to fight them. General Taeyang Park had spent his entire adult life preparing for this moment. While the world watched normal space programs on television, he commanded something much bigger. Hidden factories on the dark side of the moon. Weapons platforms disguised as asteroids. Research stations buried under Antarctic ice. For 3 generations, humanity had built an arsenal in secret. Dr. Haiwan Kim had designed most of those weapons. She was brilliant, maybe the smartest human alive. She had taken theories that other scientists said were impossible and made them real. Directed energy weapons that could cut through any known material. Railguns that could fire projectiles at a fraction of light speed. And something else. Something she called the Prometheus Protocol. Something so powerful that even General Park was afraid of it. The Harmony's Voice broadcast its message on all frequencies. The voice was mechanical, translated by computers into every Earth language. The message was simple and insulting. Humanity was primitive. Humanity was weak. Humanity would join the Galactic Council as a client race. Humanity would provide labor and resources. Humanity would obey. There was no room for discussion. No room for negotiation. Submit or be destroyed. Ambassador Velkara expected fear. She expected confusion. She expected desperate attempts to communicate. What she got instead was silence. Complete absolute silence. For 3 hours, Earth did not respond at all. The ambassador frowned. This was unusual. Primitive species always responded immediately. They always begged for mercy or asked questions. On the moon, Admiral Bo-Ra Song climbed into the command chair of the UES Indomitable. The ship had been built in a hidden crater, assembled piece by piece over 20 years. It was Earth's first true warship. Its hull was covered in experimental armor. Its weapons were mounted on every surface. Its engines could accelerate it to speeds the Council's scientists would call impossible. Admiral Song looked at her crew. They were young, most of them. Born after Protocol Watchtower began, trained their entire lives for this moment. They showed no fear. They had studied the history of Earth. They knew what happened to civilizations that looked weak. They knew what happened to species that submitted to bullies. They would not let that happen to humanity. General Park stood in the Central Command bunker in Geneva. Around him, screens showed every hidden weapons platform, every stealth satellite, every secret ship. He opened a communication channel that connected to every base, every ship, every soldier who had prepared for this day. His voice was calm and steady. Today they came to make us slaves. Today they learned that humans do not kneel. Operation Thunderbolt is now active. Show them what humanity can do. Show them why they should have left us alone. The response from Earth came suddenly. It was not words. It was not a diplomatic message. It was fire and lightning and fury. Every hidden weapons platform activated at once. Directed energy beams lanced across space, invisible until they hit their target. Railgun projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. Missiles with advanced guidance systems erupted from concealed launchers, all of them aimed at one target. All of them fired within the same 5-second window. On the Harmony's voice, alarm screamed. Commander Ixthar stared at his screens in disbelief. Weapons fire. From everywhere. From nowhere. Hundreds of targeting locks. Thousands of incoming projectiles. His shields started to activate, but they were designed for meteor impacts, not military assault. They were designed for natural hazards, not war. The first energy beams hit the ship's communications array. Metal vaporized instantly. The ship went deaf and blind. More beams followed, cutting into the hull like knives through paper. Railgun projectiles punched through armor that was supposed to be impenetrable. Missiles found weak points and exploded inside the ship's superstructure. Ambassador Velkara fell to the deck as the ship shook. Lights flickered. The artificial gravity failed. Emergency systems tried to activate and failed. This was impossible. This could not be happening. These were primitives. These were savages who barely understood fusion power. They could not have these weapons. They could not have this coordination. They could not have planned this, but they had. And they did. Lieutenant Young-Soo Choi sat in a cyber warfare center buried under Seoul. His fingers flew across holographic keyboards. His team had been studying the Council's technology for years, learning from every signal they intercepted. Now they struck. Viruses flooded into the Harmony's Voice's computer systems. Safety protocols shut down. Navigation systems reported false information. Weapon systems locked out their own operators. In minutes, the ship's entire network was compromised. 18 minutes after the first shot, the Harmony's Voice was dead in space. Its engines were offline. Its weapons were disabled. Its crew was trapped inside a ship that had become their prison. Not a single human had died. Not a single human ship had been damaged. Earth's first contact with alien life had ended in total, overwhelming victory. General Park watched the battle end on his screens. He felt no joy. He felt no triumph. He knew this was just the beginning. The Council would not accept this defeat. They would send more ships, more weapons. They would come with everything they had. That was fine. Earth was ready. Humanity had been ready for 60 years. The galaxy had sent envoys expecting submission. They had received war, and before this was over, they would learn to respect the species they had tried to enslave. On the Harmony's Voice, Ambassador Velkara sat in the darkness, listening to emergency systems struggle to restart. For the first time in her long diplomatic career, she felt real fear. Not fear of death, fear of what would come next, fear of what the Council would do when they learned that a primitive species had defeated them, fear of the war that was now inevitable. She was right to be afraid. The Council's response would be swift and brutal. But so would humanity's answer. The age of Earth's isolation was over. The age of humanity's place among the stars had begun. And it had begun with fire and blood and victory against impossible odds. The message had been sent. The message had been received. Earth would not kneel. Earth would not submit. Earth would fight. And Earth would win. News traveled fast across the galaxy. The Galactic Council had ruled for 12,000 years. They had integrated 500 species into their empire. They had crushed every rebellion. They had never lost a first contact. Never. Until now. The council chambers erupted in chaos when the reports arrived. Ambassador Velkara's distress signal had been brief and terrifying. Attacked. Defeated. Helpless. The primitive humans had weapons that should not exist. Technology that should be impossible. The council members argued for hours. Some wanted to investigate. Some wanted to negotiate. But most wanted revenge. Supreme Admiral Korvex of the Cronin Empire listened to the debates with growing anger. He was a soldier. He had fought in 16 campaigns. He had conquered planets and broken armies. These humans had embarrassed the council. They had made the mighty look weak. That could not stand. That would not be forgiven. Send the Fifth Armada, Korvex said. His voice cut through the arguing like a blade. 300 warships. Show these primitives what real power looks like. Show the galaxy that the Council does not tolerate defiance. The vote was quick. The decision was unanimous. The Fifth Armada launched within days. 300 ships, 50,000 soldiers, weapons that could crack planets. They would arrive at Earth in 3 weeks. They expected to find a frightened species begging for mercy. They expected easy victory. They were wrong. On Earth, General Park watched the alien fleet approach. His spy satellites had detected them the moment they entered the galaxy's outer rim. 3 weeks. Humanity had 3 weeks to prepare for the largest battle in its history. 3 weeks to make sure they would survive. "We cannot fight 300 ships in open battle," Admiral Bora Song said. She stood in the war room with Park and the other commanders. "We have 12 warships. Good ships, but only 12. They will overwhelm us with numbers." "Then we do not fight in open battle," Park replied. "We fight smart. We fight dirty. We use every advantage we have." "Captain Lee, what do your scouts tell us?" Captain Jamin Lee brought up a holographic display. "Their fleet moves in standard formation. They broadcast constantly, showing images of destroyed worlds. They want us to be afraid. They want us to surrender before they arrive. They are arrogant," Lieutenant Young-Soo Choi added. "Their communications are barely encrypted. Their formation leaves gaps. They think they have already won." Dr. Haewon Kim smiled. It was not a happy smile. "Good. Arrogance makes people stupid. Arrogance makes them predictable. We can use that." For 3 weeks, humanity prepared. Major Ji-woo Park trained fighter pilots in tactics that no council soldier had ever seen. Colonel Hyun-woo Nam programmed autonomous drones with new attack patterns. Engineers worked around the clock building more weapons. Scientists refined their designs. Soldiers drilled until they could execute complex maneuvers without thinking. The Fifth Armada arrived exactly on schedule. They entered the solar system near Jupiter, their ships filling space with metal and power. Supreme Admiral Korvex broadcast a final ultimatum: surrender immediately, face trial for attacking council representatives, submit to occupation. The message was clear and simple. Earth's response was equally simple. Admiral Song transmitted a single word: no. The battle began in Jupiter's shadow. Korvex ordered his fleet forward, expecting the human ships to scatter or surrender. Instead, something impossible happened. The space around his fleet came alive with weapons fire, but it did not come from ships. It came from everywhere and nowhere. Colonel Nam's drones attacked from 1,000 directions. They were small, fast, and expendable. Council ships tried to shoot them down, but for every drone destroyed, 10 more appeared. The drones did not try to destroy the big warships. They targeted sensors, communication arrays, weapon tracking systems. They blinded the fleet piece by piece. Major Park's fighters screamed out of hidden bases on Jupiter's moons. They moved in ways that council pilots had never seen, using the planet's gravity to accelerate and turn at impossible angles. They struck fast, damaged their targets, and vanished back into the clouds before the council ships could respond. Admiral Song brought the Indomitable and the other human warships into the battle. They did not charge forward like heroes. They fought like hunters. They used Jupiter's magnetic field to hide. They used the asteroid belt as cover. They struck from unexpected angles and retreated before the council ships could concentrate their fire. Supreme Admiral Korvex watched his perfect formation fall apart. His ships were powerful, but they were designed to fight enemies who fought honorably, who stood and traded fire, who followed predictable tactics. The humans fought like demons. They ignored every rule of proper warfare. They refused to give him a fair fight. "All ships pursue and destroy," Korvex ordered. His fleet broke formation, chasing the human ships deeper into the solar system. It was exactly what General Park wanted. The council ships entered the asteroid belt in scattered groups, no longer supporting each other. They were angry. They were frustrated. They were vulnerable. The asteroids were not asteroids. Half of them were weapons platforms built over 60 years. As the council ships passed, the platforms activated. Energy beams cut through the darkness. Railgun projectiles moving at tremendous speed tore through ship hulls. Minds that had waited patiently for decades finally found their purpose. The Council's Fifth Armada had entered the solar system with 300 ships. After 6 hours of battle, only 200 remained combat effective. After 12 hours, that number dropped to 150. After 18 hours, Supreme Admiral Korvex realized the horrible truth. He was not winning. He was losing. He was dying. "Retreat," he ordered. "All ships withdraw to defensive positions beyond the asteroid belt. We regroup and reassess." The surviving council ships limped away from Earth. They had lost over 100 vessels. Thousands of soldiers were dead. Dozens more ships were damaged beyond quick repair. The mighty Fifth Armada, sent to crush a primitive species, had been shattered by that same species in less than a day. In the human command center, Exhausted officers allowed themselves small smiles. They had lost 3 fighters and 1 corvette. 47 brave soldiers had died, but they had hurt the Council badly. They had proven that humans could fight a larger force and win. General Park did not celebrate. This was just the first battle. They will adapt. They will change their tactics. They will send more ships. We hurt them, but we did not break them. The real war is just beginning. Admiral Song nodded. Then we keep fighting. We keep bleeding them. We show them that every day they stay in our system, more of them die. We make them understand that conquering Earth costs too much. Dr. Kim looked at the tactical displays. They have better ships, better shields, better weapons, but we have something they do not have. We have desperation. We have ingenuity. We have the knowledge that if we lose, our entire species ends. That makes us dangerous. Beyond the asteroid belt, Supreme Admiral Korvac sat in his damaged flagship and faced the same realization. These humans were not primitives. They were not savages. They were warriors who had prepared for war while the Council had grown soft on easy conquests. The report he would send back to the Council chambers would shock them. It would terrify them. Earth could not be conquered easily. Earth might not be conquered at all. The Fifth Armada had enough strength left for 1 more major battle, maybe 2. After that, they would need reinforcements. They would need support. They would need the Council to take this threat seriously. Korvac began composing his message. As he wrote, he wondered if the Council would listen. He wondered if they would understand. He wondered if they had any idea what kind of enemy they had awakened. An enemy that refused to surrender. An enemy that fought with creativity and courage. An enemy that would rather die than submit. The Battle of Jupiter's Shadow was over. Both sides had survived. Both sides had learned valuable lessons. But the war was far from finished. It was, in fact, just beginning to truly heat up. 3 months passed. 3 months of constant fighting. 3 months of death and destruction. The solar system had become a battlefield, and neither side would surrender. Supreme Admiral Korvac had learned to respect his enemy. The humans fought with a ferocity he had never encountered. They adapted to every tactic. They learned from every mistake. They refused to give up, no matter how many times his ships pushed them back. The Council had sent reinforcements. Another 100 ships, more soldiers, better weapons. It had not been enough. The humans had secrets, technologies they revealed piece by piece, always saving something for the next battle. Korvac felt like he was fighting a hydra. Cut off 1 head and 2 more appeared. Commander Su Jin Han led the most dangerous missions. She commanded boarding parties that attacked disabled Council ships. Her teams moved fast and struck hard. They captured technology. They took prisoners. They gathered intelligence. Every raid taught humanity more about their enemy. Dr. Mi Young Kwan worked in a laboratory deep underground. Her job was simple but crucial. Take captured Council technology and make it better. She had reverse-engineered their shield generators, their faster-than-light drives, their power systems. Then she improved them. Human ships now had shields that could take twice as much punishment. Human reactors produced 3 times more power. We are not just fighting them, Dr. Kwan explained to General Park. We are learning from them. Every piece of technology they use against us becomes a weapon we can use better. They have stopped innovating. They rely on old designs. We improve every day. Captain Dong Hyun. Oh, specialized in psychological warfare, he broadcast messages to Council ships. Messages that made them doubt. Messages that made them afraid. He told them about the battles they had lost. He told them about their friends who had died. He told them that their leaders were sacrificing them for pride. Some Council soldiers started to believe those messages. Some started to question why they were dying for a species they had never met. Some started to wonder if the Council was telling them the truth. Desertion was rare in Council forces, but it was happening now. Small numbers, but growing. On the Council homeworld, emergency meetings happened every day. Intelligence Coordinator Velmara presented reports that frightened even the bravest Council members. The humans were not just defending. They were winning. Slowly, carefully, but winning. They advance faster than any species in recorded history, Velmara said. Their technology improves weekly. Their tactics evolve daily. They learn from every battle. If we do not end this war soon, they will surpass us completely. Councillor Ixthalan of the Vrax Union stood. He was old, wise, and tired of war. Perhaps we should negotiate. Perhaps we should admit we made a mistake. These humans are not primitives. They are equals. We should treat them as such. War Leader Korvan slammed his fist on the table. Never, we do not negotiate with primitives. We do not surrender to species who should be serving us. We send everything. Every ship. Every weapon. We crush them completely. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some supported peace. Some demanded war. The council was splitting. For the first time in 12,000 years, they could not agree on what to do. And while they argued, humans prepared for the next phase of the conflict. General Park received daily reports from Lieutenant Young Soo Choi's cyber warfare teams. They had infiltrated council communications completely. They read every message. They heard every debate. They knew the council was divided. They knew some wanted peace. They knew others wanted total war. We need to prepare for both possibilities, Park said to his command staff. If they choose peace, we negotiate from strength. If they choose war, we show them something that makes them reconsider. Dr. Haewon Kim entered the room. She looked tired. She looked worried. The Prometheus protocol is ready. All systems are active. All positions are confirmed. If you give the order, we can demonstrate it. Admiral Song frowned. Are we sure about this? Once we reveal it, we cannot take it back. The galaxy will know what we can do. Some will fear us. Some will hate us. Some will want to destroy us before we can use it. The alternative is worse, Park replied. If the Council decides on total war, they will send everything. Thousands of ships. Weapons that can destroy planets. We cannot stop that with conventional forces. We need a deterrent. Something so terrible that they dare not use their worst weapons against us. The Prometheus Protocol had been humanity's deepest secret. While the world thought humans could barely reach Mars, secret ships had been traveling to distant star systems for 30 years. Those ships had planted devices. Small devices. Devices that could create artificial black holes. Devices positioned near every major council world. It was the ultimate weapon, the ultimate threat. Push a button and a star system would vanish. Not attacked, not conquered, simply gone, consumed by gravity so intense that not even light could escape. It was a weapon that terrified the people who built it. But it was also a weapon that might save Earth from total destruction. We use it only as a demonstration, Park decided. We find an empty system. No planets with life, no colonies. We activate one device and show them what we can do. Then we make our position clear. Leave us alone or we all lose. Captain Jamin Lee had been promoted to Commodore. His reconnaissance forces had found the perfect target. An old council military outpost in an abandoned system. No civilians. Just automated defenses and empty buildings. A demonstration there would prove humanity's capability without killing innocents. Council was still debating when humanity made their move. Dr. Kim activated the Prometheus protocol for the first time. In a distant star system, an artificial singularity formed. It started small. Then it grew. Then it consumed everything. The Council's military outpost did not explode. It did not burn. It simply stopped existing. The space station, the defense platforms, the automated ships, all of them fell into the black hole. Within 30 seconds, the singularity had consumed everything within 1,000,000 kilometers. Then, as quickly as it had formed, it collapsed on itself and disappeared. Council sensors detected the event immediately. Scientists analyzed the data with growing horror. This was not a natural phenomenon. This was not a weapon malfunction. This was deliberate. This was controlled. This was impossible. The message from Earth arrived minutes later. Tactical Coordinator Eugene Bay transmitted it on all frequencies. The message was simple. Humanity had positioned Prometheus devices near every Council homeworld. Humanity could activate them whenever they chose. Humanity had no desire to use them. But if the Council forced Earth's hand, if the Council tried to exterminate humanity, then everyone would die together. The Council chamber fell silent. The argument stopped. The debate ended. Every member understood what they were facing. A species that would rather destroy the galaxy than submit to slavery. A species that had turned mutual destruction into a strategy. A species that had just changed the balance of power forever. War Leader Korvan sat down slowly. His calls for total war seemed foolish now. His demands for human extermination had become suicide. He had wanted to crush them. Now he realized they could crush everyone. Counselor Ixthalan spoke into the silence. We negotiate. We recognize Earth as a sovereign power. We grant them every right and privilege we claim for ourselves, because the alternative is the end of everything we have built over 12,000 years. This time nobody argued. This time the vote was unanimous. The Galactic Council would negotiate with humanity, not as masters to servants, but as equals to equals. The age of Earth's submission was over before it had begun. The age of Earth's power was just starting. The negotiations began 2 weeks after the Prometheus demonstration. The Council sent a delegation of 17 ambassadors, one from each member species. They arrived at Earth with dignity but without arrogance. They had learned their lesson. They understood what they were dealing with now. Ambassador Velkara was among them. The same diplomat who had demanded Earth's surrender now came to ask for peace. She had changed. The arrogance was gone. The contempt was gone. In their place was something humans recognized and respected. Humility earned through hard experience. The talks took place aboard the UES Indomitable. Admiral Borasong commanded the ship, but she was not the negotiator. That honor went to Ambassador Minji Hong, a career diplomat who had prepared her entire life for this moment. She was calm, professional, and absolutely clear about what humanity demanded. Colonel Sung Ho Yang stood beside Ambassador Hong, representing Earth's military interests. Dr. Wan-Sik Zhang was there as scientific advisor. Together they presented Earth's terms. The terms were not gentle. The terms were not negotiable. First, full recognition of Earth as a sovereign power, Ambassador Hong said. No client status. No protectorate status. Full equality with every council species. We govern ourselves. We make our own laws. We choose our own path. Councillor Ixtalan nodded. Agreed. The Council recognizes Earth's complete sovereignty. Second, full access to Council technology and databases. You will share your knowledge, all of it. Science, medicine, engineering, everything. In return, we will share ours. Equal exchange. Some Council members shifted uncomfortably. They had kept their technology secret from client races. They had used knowledge as a tool of control. Sharing everything meant giving up that advantage. But they had no choice. Agreed, Ixtalan said. Full technological exchange. Third, representation in galactic governance. Earth receives a permanent seat in the Council. Our voice carries the same weight as any other member. We participate in all decisions. We have veto power over any action that affects our interests. This was harder to swallow. The Council had operated as a closed group for millennia. Adding a new member meant sharing power. It meant accepting humanity as true equals. But Ambassador Velkara spoke up. They have earned it. They defeated our envoys. They fought our armada to a standstill. They possess weapons that threaten us all. They deserve a seat at the table. They deserve to be heard. The other ambassadors murmured agreement. Velkara had more credibility than anyone. She had witnessed human capability firsthand. She bore scars from the Battle of Jupiter's shadow. If she said humans deserved respect, who could argue? Agreed, Ixtalan said. Earth receives full Council membership. Fourth and most important, security guarantees. This war ends. All hostilities cease immediately. Council forces withdraw from the solar system within 30 days. Any future aggression against Earth by any Council member will be treated as an act of war against all members. You will defend us as we will defend you, Colonel Yang added, and the Prometheus Protocol remains active, not as a threat, as insurance. We will not use it unless attacked, but it stays in place permanently. If that is not acceptable, there will be no treaty. The Council ambassadors looked at each other. They did not like it. Nobody liked living under the threat of mutual destruction, but they understood. Earth would not disarm. Earth would not trust the Council's promises without guarantees. Earth had learned the galaxy's most important lesson. The strong only respected strength. Agreed, Ixtalan said quietly. All hostilities end. Mutual defense pact. Prometheus Protocol remains as deterrent. We pray it never needs to be used. Ambassador Hong allowed herself a small smile. Then we have an agreement. Welcome to the new galactic order, one where all species stand as equals, one where strength is balanced with wisdom, one where war is the last resort, not the first. The Treaty of Terra was signed that day. 17 Council ambassadors and 1 human representative put their marks on a document that changed galactic history. The signing ceremony was broadcast to every world, every station, every ship in Council space. The message was clear. Humanity had arrived and nothing would ever be the same. On Earth, celebrations erupted. Cities lit up with fireworks. People danced in the streets. They had faced extinction and survived. They had fought the galaxy and won. The joy was genuine, the relief was real. But the leaders knew this was just the beginning. General Park watched the celebrations from his office. Defense Minister Ji Hai-shin sat across from him. They had worked together for 30 years, building humanity's defense. Now they had to build something harder, a lasting peace. The Council will keep the treaty, Shin said. They have no choice. But some will resent us. Some will plot against us. Some will wait for us to show weakness. Then we never show weakness, Park replied. We keep our military strong. We keep improving. We keep the Prometheus Protocol active and maintained. Peace is good. But peace maintained by strength is better. Dr. Haewon Kim entered the room. She carried data pads filled with information from the Council's databases. The technology exchange has begun. Their medical knowledge alone will save millions of lives. Their energy systems are more efficient than ours. Their material science is incredible. And what did they get from us? Shin asked. Kim smiled. Our weapons designs, our cyber warfare techniques, our military tactics, things they need to defend against external threats, things that will make them stronger without threatening us. Supreme Admiral Korvex had withdrawn his forces as promised. Before leaving, he had requested a meeting with Admiral Song. They met in a neutral station, two warriors who had tried to kill each other now talking as professionals. I underestimated you, Korvex said. I thought your victory over the Harmony's voice was luck. I thought my armada would crush you easily. I was wrong. You fought better than any enemy I have faced. Admiral Song nodded. You fought well too. You adapted. You learned. You made us work for every victory. In another universe, we might have been allies from the start. Perhaps we can be allies now, Korvex suggested. The galaxy is larger than Council space. There are threats beyond our borders, threats that care nothing for treaties or diplomacy. When those threats come, I hope Earth will stand with us. We will, Song promised. The treaty works both ways. Attack any council member, attack Earth, we mean that. We stand together now. The two admirals shook hands, human and alien finding common ground. It was a small gesture, but symbolic. The war had taught both sides respect. The peace would require trust. Trust had to start somewhere. Ambassador Velkara stayed on Earth as cultural liaison between humanity and the Thessian Empire. She had requested the position. She wanted to understand these remarkable beings who had defeated her. She wanted to learn from them. She wanted to ensure that the mistakes of first contact never happened again. Her first report back to the Thessian government was honest and painful. We were arrogant. We assumed technological superiority meant total superiority. We forgot that intelligence, creativity, and determination matter more than any weapon. We forgot that the most dangerous opponent is not the strongest, but the most desperate. Humanity was desperate. That made them unstoppable. The Treaty of Terra had been signed. The war was over. But the real work was just beginning. Building trust between species, integrating human technology with alien science, creating a new galactic order where power was shared instead of hoarded. It would take time. It would take effort. It would take patience from everyone involved, but it would work. It had to work. Because the alternative was too terrible to imagine. And because humanity had proven something important. Peace was possible even after war. Especially after war. When both sides understood the cost of conflict, they could appreciate the value of cooperation. The galaxy had sent envoys expecting submission. They had received war. Now they received partnership. And everyone was better for it. 5 years passed. 5 years of peace. 5 years of growth. 5 years of learning to live together in a galaxy that had been forever changed by war. The Galactic Council was no more. In its place stood the Galactic Assembly, a reformed organization where every member had equal voice. Earth held its permanent seat, represented by Ambassador Minji Hong, who had become one of the most respected diplomats in known space. The Assembly had grown. 47 species now held membership, including many former client states that the old council had kept in servitude. Earth's insistence on equality had freed entire civilizations. Those civilizations remembered who had stood up for them. They remembered who had changed the system. Economic advisor Kyung-hee Ro had negotiated trade agreements that brought prosperity to Earth and its partners. Human manufacturers sold advanced weapons to assembly defense forces. Human engineers helped build better ships. Human doctors shared medical techniques that saved lives across the galaxy. In return, Earth received technology, resources, and knowledge that accelerated human development by centuries. Security Chief Tae Jun-mun had established joint defense protocols. The assembly maintained a combined fleet, ships from every member species working together. When pirates attacked trade routes, they faced human and alien vessels responding as one. When slavers tried to raid border worlds, they met united resistance. The galaxy was safer than it had been in generations. Education coordinator Hye-jin An ran exchange programs that brought alien students to Earth and sent human scholars throughout the stars. Young people from different species learned together, played together, became friends. The prejudices of the old council were dying, replaced by genuine understanding between cultures. Captain Jamin Lee, the scout who had first detected the Harmony's voice, was now Admiral Lee, commanding the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. His ships explored unknown regions beyond assembly space. They made peaceful contact with new species. They offered friendship instead of demands. They represented the new way, the better way. Dr. Haewon Kim continued her research, but now she worked with scientists from 17 different species. Together they pushed the boundaries of knowledge. Together they developed technologies that no single species could have created alone. The weapons she designed now protected everyone, not just Earth. General Park had retired from active duty, but he remained influential. Young officers sought his advice. Politicians consulted him on strategy. He spent his time writing, teaching, and tending a small garden on the outskirts of Seoul. In the garden, he had planted a memorial, names carved in stone, 47 names, the humans who had died defending Earth. Admiral Bo-ra Song visited the memorial regularly. One of those names was her sister, Commander So-ra Song, killed in the Battle of Jupiter's Shadow. So-ra had been flying a fighter escort when Council missiles found her ship. She had died buying time for others to escape. She had died a hero. "Do you think it was worth it?" Song asked Park one day. They stood together by the memorial, two old warriors remembering the dead. Park was quiet for a long time. "I think about that question every day. 47 dead, thousands wounded, families destroyed. Was it worth it? Then I look at what we have now. Freedom, respect, partnership with the galaxy. Would we have gotten that by surrendering? By becoming slaves?" "No," Song said softly. "We would have lost everything. Our culture, our identity, our future. They died so humanity could live free. They died for something worth dying for." "Yes," Park agreed. "But we honor them by making sure their sacrifice leads to lasting peace. By building something better than what came before. By proving that strength without cruelty is possible." Ambassador Velkara had become one of Earth's closest alien friends. She had spent 5 years learning about humanity, teaching about her own people, building bridges between cultures. She often spoke at universities, telling students about the mistakes the Council had made. "We saw primitive technology and assumed primitive minds," she told a classroom full of human and alien students. "We measured advancement by the wrong standards. We forgot that wisdom, creativity, and determination matter more than any tool. Humanity taught us that lesson. I hope we never forget it." The Prometheus protocol remained active. The devices still waited in their hidden positions throughout the galaxy. But they had never been activated again after that first demonstration. Everyone hoped they never would be. They existed as insurance, as deterrent, as a reminder that mutual destruction was always possible and therefore must be avoided. Dr. Yoon-jung Park, a historian, had spent 5 years compiling a complete record of the war. Her work would be required reading in every school, human and alien. She wanted future generations to understand what had happened, why it had happened, how close everyone had come to total disaster. "This was not a story of human superiority," she wrote in her conclusion. "This was a story of what happens when arrogance meets desperation." The Council was arrogant. Humanity was desperate. That combination created the conditions for war. Peace came when both sides learned humility. When both sides recognized that cooperation served everyone better than domination. 20 years after first contact, Commander Ixthar taught at the Galactic War College on Mars. His students studied the conflict that had reshaped civilization. They learned tactics, strategy, technology. But more importantly, they learned the deeper lessons. Never underestimate your enemy, Ixthar told his class. Never assume technology alone determines victory. Never forget that the most dangerous opponent is not the strongest but the smartest. Humanity was smarter than us. They prepared while we grew complacent. They innovated while we relied on old methods. They won because they had to win. We lost because we thought we could not lose. Supreme Admiral Corvex worked alongside Admiral Lee in the Assembly Defense Command. The former enemies had become partners. They shared information. They coordinated strategies. They defended the galaxy together. When new threats emerged from beyond known space, human and council forces responded as one. I am glad we are allies now, Corvex said to Lee after a successful joint operation. I would not want to fight you again. Once was enough, Lee smiled. Once was enough for us too. We learned we could win, but we also learned that winning is expensive. Peace is better. Peace is cheaper. Peace lets us build instead of destroy. A young reporter interviewed General Park on the 20th anniversary of First Contact. The interview would be broadcast across the entire galaxy. The reporter asked what Park considered his greatest achievement. Park thought carefully before answering. My greatest achievement was not winning the war. It was knowing when to stop fighting. We had the Prometheus Protocol. We could have ruled through fear. We could have become tyrants. We chose not to. We chose partnership instead of domination. That choice, more than any battle, defines who we are. The galaxy had learned important lessons. Power without wisdom led to tyranny. Wisdom without power led to slavery. True strength came from the balance between the two. Humanity had demonstrated that balance. They had shown that a species could be powerful and just, strong and merciful, victorious and humble. The story of Earth's war with the Council became legend. Children across the galaxy learned about the species that had refused to submit, about the weapons that had changed everything, about the peace that had followed war. The story taught courage, ingenuity, and the importance of standing up for freedom. Ambassador Hong, now serving as the Assembly's Secretary General, looked back on 2 decades of change. The galaxy was not perfect. Old prejudices remained. New problems emerged constantly, but progress was real. The Assembly worked better than the Council ever had. More species had freedom. More people had hope. We still have work to do, she said in her 20th anniversary speech. Peace requires constant effort. Justice requires constant vigilance. Freedom requires constant defense. But we have proven something important. We have proven that different species can work together, can respect each other, can build something better than what existed before. The Prometheus Protocol remained in the shadows, silent and watchful. It was humanity's ultimate guarantee. Not a weapon of conquest, not a tool of domination. A shield that protected everyone by threatening everyone. Mutual destruction remained possible. Therefore, mutual destruction must be avoided. That simple logic had kept the peace for 20 years. General Park walked through his garden one last time before age finally claimed him. He touched each name on the memorial. 47 people who had given everything. 47 heroes who had saved their species. He hoped they would be proud of what humanity had built, with the freedom they had died to preserve. The galaxy had sent envoys expecting submission. Humanity had responded with unimaginable force. But what truly made humanity remarkable was not the force they deployed. It was the wisdom to use that force justly, to fight when necessary, to show mercy when possible, to build peace that would last. That was the lesson. That was the legacy. That was why humanity earned their place among the stars not as conquerors but as equals, not as tyrants but as partners, not through fear but through respect. And the galaxy was better for it.